Good morning, everybody. Welcome to my Stoic Circus, episode 7. We're going to talk about winning is a process. That's right. We're going to kind of cover a little bit of ancient wisdom. We're going to talk about things that are in our daily life, like trying to win at your position or have your kid win in their sports or their events or their tasks, as well as how do we feel about, when we play things like the lottery. So stay tuned here in just a moment and we'll get going right here on My Stoic Circus, live producing on Breakout, YouTube, and Clubhouse. All right, everybody. Good morning. Have you thought about maybe taking an opportunity to play the lottery today? It's currently at $820 million, the Powerball, right? It's, what is it, September 26th. Now, the Powerball is drawn on Wednesdays, Saturdays, and I believe Mondays too, but I could be wrong. And the question was asked to me yesterday, Jason, if you won the lottery, what would you do? Now, of course, the first thing is to pay off all your bills, right? And many of us definitely want to do that. We don't want to be in debt. We don't want to be in somebody else's charge. We don't want to be in somebody else's revenue stream. We don't want to do a lot of things. But have we given ourselves some space, some thought about maybe that we are already winning in our natural lives by the process in which we live, the way that we do things, the way that we attempt, discipline, believe, all that stuff. There's plenty of books written all over the place about winning, right? But when we're given a chance, something like you look at the lottery, where it's anyone could win, but there is caveats that come with it. And when we're given great sums of money, what do we really do? Do we really just like, hey, okay, I get this big, say like you got 820 million and you took the lump sum, I don't know, maybe it's 500 million, right? And you're going to be taxed more likely 40%, maybe even more. And when you're going through that process, there's a whole bunch of things that just automatically, it seems like it's overwhelming you. And it's like, I would definitely do for my mom. I take care of my brother, my sister. I might take care of my church. I'll take care of a lot of things, right? And with this unchecked mindset are a lot of things that are overwhelming that you maybe thought of doing. You owe some emotional debt of gratitude. People have helped you out along the way. But before you know it, money starts going fast. That's expenditure goes quickly, right? And without any training, before you know it, most lottery winners are broke. They're broke within 5 years. Now, my friend happened to be talking to me exactly about this. And she goes, well, I would definitely help out my church. I would invest. And I listened to their responses. I would definitely buy me a nice home. I would go on vacations. I would do things that I've always wanted to do. And I said, okay. And then they asked me, what would I do? And I said this in such a way where I was like, you know what? I've lost a lot in my life. And I've won in certain instances. And if I won, or let's say progressively, when I win the lottery specifically, I would, yes, pay off my debts, but I would not stop working. And I, what? Stop working? Oh, wait, say that again. You would not stop working? Why? And I'm like, I got this big sum of money. Now, idle hands, in my experience, have taught me that it's a very dangerous thing. It is a tremendously dangerous thing because the conscious starts weighing in on you, and then the ego starts kind of kicking in. A power trip may evolve. A lot of things may happen. But in the long run, we've got to think about, you know, you got to think about, well, if so much money went out, what's coming back in, right? And when it comes back in, guess what? The tax man wants his share. They got their share when you took the lump sum, payout. And he's going to keep taking you until when you are a consumer, he's going to keep taking from you because you have. And then there's going to be people along the way who will probably tell you, you need to donate more. You're wealthy, so you got to give more. And all these causes, friends, relatives. I mean, I've seen these stories in such a way where it's been very, very interesting, to say the least. And the few people that have actually done well with their winnings didn't just go and spend. They didn't just go and blow and just give to anybody. Of course, they helped out the people that they believe that loved them. But the ones that gave their money away, they were so worried about, now that I got this big sum, I've got to really work on keeping it. So I've got to invest it. And if I don't invest it, guess what? Because the government wants to take more from me, right? I don't want to leave my friends. I don't want to leave where I live. Of course, I want to take care of my people. But whether you're taking care of your people or not, I said I would allot a certain amount of donation, no questions asked. That would be the first thing. I'd be mindful about what I donate. And secondly, I wouldn't tell anybody that I won, which would be very difficult for me because I'm a big mouth, right? And when you look at, knowing yourself to be true, when you know exactly what you're capable of, excuse me, I'm just inviting as many people as I possibly can on all these apps. When you know what you're capable of and you know that your demise is a certain area, then you begin mindfulness of practice, right? And so, with that being said, I gave a lot of thought of, I wouldn't tell anybody. I wouldn't change too much. Yeah, I'd probably buy a nice home. I'd pay off my debts. I'd keep working my job because you got to have something to do. Now, what my job is, now here's where the tricky part. A lot of us will say, well, I'll go start a business. And I shouldn't say job either, because I always believe the word job means just over broke, but I wouldn't be broke, right? So I start beginning to think about the business that I have, do it better. I've been given a great sum of money to do whatever I want, but there is always a temptation in mind. And with that temptation, you have to look at what built you there, what got you there, all that great stuff, right? And when you look at all that stuff, did it come with a cost? It did, more than likely. It absolutely did. And when you look at that cost, is it worth, giving away? You're not so easy to give away your fortune, so to speak. You're just not. And it kind of reminds me of Ebenezer Scrooge from A Christmas Carol. And he basically talked about how he was just like, he had all this money, but he was so lonely and cold. And when I think about it, I was like, wait a second. Sharing wealth comes with a great benefit, right? Who likes to party alone? Not me. And then those who do party around you, it's like they're hanging around on your curtails. And so when I think about all this stuff, and I was like, wait a second, I wouldn't tell anybody. So that would be like the most important thing for me to do so that I could keep my distractions to a minimum. I don't want fakes and phonies, to take advantage of my goodwill. And with that process, keep living you don't change. And this is what I've learned from people that have a lot more than I do and who enjoy their wealth, who enjoy a lot of good things. And they simply say, I haven't changed anything other than becoming better than what I already am. Mind blowing, should be like an explosive moment, it should be, yeah. I won. But the part about winning becomes either something you're addicted to or you appreciate. And if you're addicted to winning, you're also leverageable. You know, sometimes you will do anything at any cost to win again. That's you see it in athletics all the time. You see it in sports. Some guys walk away from their families for a good period of time because they feel like, look, if I get out of this rhythm of winning, I'm going to be a loser again. I came from nothing. I came from small beginnings, right? And so you think about it, and these guys went through a tremendous amount of cost to become the world's best, to be favorable money wise. And now you have to start listening to people who know about money. You have to know about the relationship of money, right? Or the relationship of winning, what got you on that pedestal. But without discipline, without thoughtfulness, like I said in the beginning, and within the first 5 years of most super lottery winners, mega million winners, they go broke within 5 years and nothing to show with it. They have more debts. The ones that I've read about have lawsuits against them. People feel that they've got to, they're entitled to that other person's wealth. So they got to protect their assets. And so when you become wealthy, and as a winner in anything, you've got to protect, yourself against unwarranted people, right? And their motives. We see it all the time, but you don't want to change who you are, but your position has become changed. So how do we really take advantage of what we have when we're winning? And that means it comes down to a winning process, right? Now, I remember I was in track and field and I lost a lot, in high school. And a part of that winning, when I began to win, was I first understood the first steps I needed to take, which was doing the work. Second one was the belief in my work. Third thing is the practice in my work, and repeat all of that. And then when I believed I understood what it took, that these are the distractions, this is where I can go wrong, so on and so forth, I learned really about myself. And so how did I learn about these things? And so I have been reading, so to speak. I reviewed this morning after I read the Daily Stoic, the 5 laws of gold, according to the richest man in Babylon, and he says, that means George S. Clason. He talks about these old guys, like how to keep wealth, how to really keep things in there, right? So he made a few distinctive recommendations about not just making money, but keeping money, right? And he would say, hey, good morning, Jenny, Beth, and Ralph. Good to see you. And Michael over on Breakout. Good to see you guys. George S. Clason would tell you that the first thing you got to know about gold is that gold cometh gladly and increasingly quantity to any man who will put not less than 1/10 of his earnings to create an estate, keyword, an estate for his future, that of his family. Now, how many of us think about we're actually building something for our family, right? And what does your family mean? Does that mean your wife, your husband, your kids? And to what extent, right? So you got to know what that is, what that means to you. The second thing he says, gold laboreth diligently and contentedly for the wise owner who finds it profitable employment, multiplying even as the flocks of the field. That means what works for you, right? And we'll get back to the lottery stuff because it's going to be really important. Now, the third one, he says, gold clingeth to the protection of the cautious owner who invests it under the advice of men wise in handling. Okay, so who teaches you how to handle money? Now, if I won the lottery, I'm not going to go just toss money at an investment because I already have enough. I've decided that I have enough. Like I win 500 million, if I win 500 million, that's more than what I need. I take care of my bills. But that's why I also said, I'm not going to stop working, right? It's very, very important that you don't stop working for yourself, to have a purpose in what you do. Just because you got a big sum of money, you're going to know what you're worth, because when that money goes and everyone has their hand out and everyone wants you to donate or guilts you, like I've been there for when you were nothing, now you're something because of a chance gift, right? But see, a winning process isn't a chance gift. A winning process keeps you in check to keep winning, to know your worth without giving it away so easily. And we all do every day. A lot of us do. The fourth thing that he says in the 5 laws is, give slippeth away the man who invests in business or purposes which is not familiar, or which are not approved by those skilled it keeps. That means people and companies unqualified for your attention. People giving you financial advice. Like I remember early in this book, he talks about, the guy gives a bunch of money to this bricklayer friend that went to another town and says, yeah, I'm going to go buy some gems for you. We're going to make a killing. Comes back and finds out that it's not precious gems. It's just polished rock. And so his first lesson is, why give money to somebody who is not qualified, doesn't understand gems? Why am I going to give away money? Why are you going to give away to, like I said, my friends say, oh, I would go and invest it. So you're worried about, making money, but you never learned about making money and keeping it. So you're going to have to learn, you know, who's in your company of which they expertly speak on when it comes investing. And if their household does not represent that, then I would definitely not be listening to those people. Now, the fifth one says, gold flees the man who would force it impossible earnings, or who followeth the alluring advice of tricksters and schemers, who trust it is to his own inexperience and romantic desires in investment. What does that mean? It says, stop daydreaming into debt because you follow a fool who has no receipts for themselves. Kind of like talking what I said before. Now, that's from The Richest Man in Babylon. So already I'm laying the framework of a winning mindset. And it doesn't matter whether it's money, but it's actually your works. So why would you stop working at the things that fulfill you, right? Either you're working for somebody because you want to, or you're working with others because it gives you pleasure. It challenges you. And the human spirit has to be challenged. If it doesn't, it gets idle. And what ends up happening is that it goes into decline and carelessness, drifting, as Napoleon Hill in his, Outwitting the Devil talks about. He talks about, when you are outwitted by the devil, it's because you were ignorant in your attention of the presence. Your daydreams took you to a place. Now, all the winners, whether it be financial or athletic, position, role, they all have one thing in common that I have understood. And what is that one thing? The work. The work gives them resilience and discipline, and it keeps them in a rhythm. So would I stop working? Why? If I stop working, I'm going to get bored after a while. Sure, I could travel all these amazing places, right? If I won the lottery, I could do all these amazing things. I could invest in I could take a risk in investing in companies I know nothing about, never learned nothing. And I could do that, and that'd be like something I always wanted to do. But the problem is that when you understand what's taking place, is you're playing with inexperience instead of learning and growing and being curious about, what does that profession do? Well, how does this business run? Let me find someone who does it well without telling them I won, right? And so people don't even think about, look, I won this money. I'm going to invest it. I'm going to start a business. I'm going to start investment corp. And that's where the soothsayers, as they say in the Bible, talk in your ear, talk in your beliefs. Your conscience starts dwindling down because you have a lack of belief, right? You look at others and you're like, well, what the hell's going on here? But see, this is the thing. What can you train on now before you win a lottery? Or let's say you have built a business from ground up, and all of a sudden you are the most highly sought after individual. You know, without that discipline, without your character in check, guess what's going to happen? A lot of BS, a lot of arguments, and then the ego, and then we pass around these things. So when I thought about this episode, and I was like, and my friend was asking me, what would you do? And I'm like, I would not stop working. I would just want to get better what I already do. Right. And when I automatically think about what I already do great, yeah, I work with people. It doesn't mean I'm not going to work with them, like hand in hand all the time, but I'll work with them to better things along the way and better the process. And guess what? I become enriched. Now I have an attitude of winning. The attitude process is training. And how I can talk about this, if you're not doing yourself a favor and learning about your bad habits that are counterproductive, that take you and constantly guessing, well, if I invest in this website and I sell these things, I'm going to get a chance. I'm going to get a chance, right? And that's what most of us really want. We want a chance. And with that chance, there's a lot of guesswork, but why guess? Start being curious, ask more questions, because the people that I'm seeing become successful are asking lots of questions. They're not talking as much. They're learning more and they're executing more often. And guess what? They fulfilled. So the winning process, it really takes place in what you understand and what you believe and what you're willing to learn. So no matter whether you won the lottery or not, you win in say like your profession, you want to start doing something better. It comes from repetition of the work. Willing to learn. And when people show you something that maybe you might be doing wrong, take it always in consideration and evaluate the process, test and measure. And then if it works, guess what? You do it. But nowadays, it seems like we're so eager to want to go and get advice. That's right. We want to go and get advice from whom? The world right now is full of doubters, less believers. And winning takes a lot of believing, even when you're losing. Just the other night, we were watching, me and some friends of mine, we were watching a movie called Greater. It's kind of a Christian movie, and it's about this guy named, I think it's Brian, or is it Brad Bullsworth? He played for the Arkansas Razorbacks. And this guy was a walk-on, and he was least likely to be picked for this Arkansas football team. And this guy did whatever it took. If the coach told him, in order to be a starting lineman, you got to be 300 pounds. He went on, and he heard that from a coach. He's like, all right, 300 pounds, here I come. And what did he do at this event? He bought up all the candy from this vendor when he went to go view Arkansas. But it didn't deter him. And what I found so interesting about his story was, and I seen this movie before, and it was kind of heartwarming. His own family was talking smack to him. His brother was calling him cheesecake. You're eating chips and cheesecake, aren't you? And he's like, hey, I'm going to become an Arkansas Razorback. That's what I'm going to do. And so the process, he ate, he gained all this weight, tried out. And the lineman coach basically, I don't know what the hell you're doing here. You're clumsy. You're falling over yourself. But he kept on practicing. He took everything that the coach told him, and he just kept on practicing, even when he was the crappiest one of them all, constantly redshirted. And then the coach kind of saw him, and he just kind of said, well, all right, I'm going to put you to work. I'm going to put the right work in you. Now that you gained all this weight, now I'm going to have you lose it, and I'm going to have you replace it with muscle. And so what did this kid became methodically so disciplined about what he believed about being an Arkansas Razorback lineman in football. He then became a leading team member, right? Imagine that. And then eventually he becomes All-American. Unfortunately, he died not too long after he graduated from his university, and he got drafted by the Indianapolis Colts. And And the story was really nice, but the point is that this kid constantly, he didn't stop when he was already successful. He kept on practicing, even pulled his teammates at 2 o'clock in the morning. Says, hey, instead of going home and partying, we're going to go to this farmhouse and we're going to practice our steps. And these guys literally, they're like, oh my God, it's 2 o'clock in the freaking morning. Seriously, folks. So when he ended up understanding what was taking place, he's like, he gets his team members, then they start believing. And then the first year, it was a losing year. But then the next year, Burlsworth goes up to the coach, the new head coach, because the old one got fired. And the old one told him, like, yeah, we don't want that, wasting that guy. This guy's a walk-on, just whatever. But Brandon, I think that's what his name is. What he ended up doing is he grabbed his teammates. They practiced all summer. They got really good, and they literally transformed the whole team from a simple one guy to four guys to the whole team. Ends up becoming a powerhouse that year. And so he built a belief structure in doing the same thing over and over. He took whatever criticism that was out there, he listened to it, he tested, he worked, he evaluated all those things. And guess what? When he was asked, the last day he was on campus towards the end of the movie, he says, coach asked him, hey, so we're going to have to come visit you. You're going to be a big shot millionaire, whatever, right? And he's like, you know what? When football's all done, you're going to find me in this one house in Arkansas. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to change a thing. And because what he did, the coach told him, you did everything all the right way. He took it. He learned from it. He didn't complain. He stuck his nose to the grind. He understood the discipline that it took to get him into that next level, to get him into a winning process. Why? If it's not broke, don't fix it, right? But if it's not broke, I work it, and then I'll continue to work it, and get better. Which brings up something else. So imagine that for yourself. You're working in your position. You could be a waitress, you could be a waiter, you could be a doctor, you could be a lawyer, what it is. And you win that lottery. Are you really going to go and change do you really want to change, or, because you won, or do you want to improve where you're already at? And so going into a lottery winning, right, a process of winning, it's like, I'm grateful, I'm gracious. Yes, I'm going to share some wealth, but I'm not going to give everything away just right off first impulse. So when we think about what we're doing on an everyday, before we're winning a lottery, before we're getting that next big paycheck or the next big break, what discipline are you creating right now for yourself? And what are you idly doing? The Stoic question of the day says, what idle leisure can I replace with something more fulfilling? Right? And the quote that goes along with that, Seneca from Moral Letters, he says, leisure without study is death, a tomb for a living person. What does that mean? It basically means that when you let too much leisure and you're not working on something that will improve you, make you more curious, make you grow, be more creative, right? That's where our world is heading. The creative people will have a place at the table. The non-creative people, the debt payers, the slot fillers, the bean counters, guess what's going to happen to them? They're always going to be in that position. And that's always the way it's been. And it's hard to realize that. Because even when I read, for example, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, right, by Robert Kiyosaki, he talked about two men, his actual biological father and his metaphorical dad, his best friend's dad, who taught him about the language of money. He talks about this. He literally spells it out. Then you've got another famous book, Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill. He talks about the belief and the ideologies that we have about money, but what actually is. Now, this is all mind-blowing. And if you read these books, take time to actually read, you'll get a lot, but you got to formulate the process of your winning. The discipline, the character, the justice, and the curiosity. If you don't have those things in place, guess what's going to happen? A lot of bad things. And you're going to be guessing in all the wrong places. So, and then I think about another book that really actually made a big impact about my debt. And that was Dave Ramsey's Total Money Makeover. That taught me how to clean up who I owe money to, clean up my beliefs, right? Clean up here. It'll not come out here so much. When you get a paycheck and you look at, damn, I don't have so much. But if he even talks about saving, save your emergency fund, like two emergency funds. He talks about get in a ritual of practice. And just like in the richest man in Babylon, save a tenth. Keep that, keep keeping. When you hold that, that's a discipline of mindset. And over time, just like Tony Robbins talks about in his money books, he says compounded interest of your money grows exponentially, but you got to know where to put it. Now, I have a few Jewish friends, and they have a process that I'm barely understanding, but it's interesting how they have it work. And they said, I keep 1/3 of my money in my house, 1/3 in banks, and 1/3 in investments. Mind blowing, right? But there's a lot that goes into that. So ask yourself today, how do you really want to change the process of your winning? How do you want to really improve your situation? Are you going to spend a bunch of time with people that don't do nothing, or they're doing something, exchanging ideas, process? I'm willing to learn from somebody. When someone is talking to you, are you really listening? I've go over on YouTube. Let's see. I've got a friend of mine says, I've switched laziness to becoming more productive now by taking actual walks again, getting what needs to be accomplished in the process of being finished, writing things down more, not to forget. That's excellent. That is an awesome, perspective. And there's quite a few other comments, but it was his brother Marty that said that. Yeah. And his name was Brandon. So, but the point is, are you building a process of winning? Being more disciplined about your attention before you spend. How much do you keep? What amount of percentage of what you do in life is allotted to guessing and frivolousness versus curiosity and growth? What can you, like when I loan money, it's a lot of times I'm giving money away when I loan money. And usually it's not more than I can afford. I understand that when I'm paid back, I appreciate it, but I have gotten mad at the process. But that emotional frailty gets you out of making and keeping. So think about what you want today. Are you thinking about how you're going to pay your next bill or get your dream car or get your dream house to keep you spending for someone else's cause? Or are you actually going to think about, I'm compounding what I make, I marginally give away, and it starts with your attention. Now I'm going to bring up a few of my friends up into the stage and see what everyone thinks. Let's see. I got Jenny, I got James, I got Gail. Let's see. Thank you so much for coming up live on Clubhouse. If you do, what are your guys' thoughts? And I also have Michael on Breakout. What are your guys' thoughts about all this? Are you thinking about the discipline of a winning process, or are you just like paying bills? For some reason, hold on, let me redo my Bluetooth for Clubhouse. 1 second. Give me 1 second. For some reason, it didn't click in, but all right. All right, go ahead, James. Okay, I don't know if you guys can you guys unmute and just say something so that way I can hear you? Because sometimes my roadcast.
Mic test.
All right, thanks, guys. I appreciate you. So what do you guys think about a winning process? Are you thinking about capitalizing what you already do now? And if you won the lottery, what would you really do after what I've said? Would you really just go pay off all your bills and then go invest? Or would you work at what you're already doing and keep going?
Well, anyone speaking or
No, you're
can you
good.
guys hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Um, okay, if I was to win the lotto, I do have a lot of plans. Definitely would contribute in homeless. That's part
Okay.
what my husband would like to do is help the homeless.
Okay.
That's a must. And definitely my family, get them out of debt, so they can do a clean slate and start over.
How
And
and who would be that in that
and
family real quickly?
well, of course, my kids, my mom, the house, things that we owe, definitely pay all that off so we can start fresh. And then invest and
Okay.
travel, because I definitely love to travel. I haven't seen a lot of parts here in Florida, even though I've lived here over 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely would love to travel here in Florida and see other different sites.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, and invest in my money. So, yeah.
Okay, so have you thought about what that actually looks like? Like how much money is all that going to take? Like if to take care of your family, how much money do you think that would take out of your winnings just for that purpose?
I don't know. I guess 100,000 for each, and let them, you know,
100,000 for each, right?
yeah.
Okay. And then how much would you really want to give to charity?
Yeah. I always think by giving back, you're gonna get rewarded much more
Mm-hmm.
um in your journey.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always been like that way. If I do see someone and then if I do see them constantly out here, I know that they're in struggle. So I'll stop by and give them a few dollars. I'll give them a pep talk, you know,
Mm-hmm.
give them a few dollars and so forth. And I've noticed that by me doing that, I get rewarded much more into
Mm.
other different things in my life. And to me, that's rewarding. And I like that.
Now, the last part, the investment part. What would you invest in? What do you understand to invest into?
That's the part where I would have to definitely think of where I would want to invest. Of course, I want to invest in a smart way where I'm not just investing just to throw money around.
Mm-hmm.
So I definitely want to invest in a great company where I'm going to get back some type of benefit from that. So I'm not going to just invest crazy. Definitely, I'm not going to do that. So I definitely want to invest smart in
Okay.
a smart way.
Now that's brilliant. And I commend you for that. But did you ever possibly think about before you even become a lottery winner, what to train on right now to learn about investments now? Like what are you doing anything that teaches you about investments now before you even win?
Well, definitely, I would invest in myself
That's
to
number
learn.
one. Number one.
Definitely.
Invest
Yeah.
in you, your
Do my due
health.
diligence.
Yeah.
Do my due diligence. Invest in myself to better myself, and then and go forward with that. So yeah.
Right. And I think it's very important that you do that because we all need to be doing that. We need to, not should, need. Because the way that our life, our the things that we're doing, right now, if you're not investing in your body, in your mindset, guess what? You are another slot filler, a bean counter. You are a debt payer. You are someone else's fortune builder. Because if you build yourself, right, you're stronger in the mind that you're not willing to just pay attention to just anyone. You're willing to do for yourself. And I think that's the most important. James, would you care to answer? If you won the lottery today, would you stop what you're doing with your companies or would you keep going?
No, because, and we've discussed this,
Mm-hmm.
before 2007, 2008, I probably would be still doing what I was doing, which was bringing home $250,000 a year after taxes, thinking I was making all the money I needed. And then when I lost everything, I learned the hard way because the people I was working for were top Goldman Sachs, management.
Mm-hmm.
I went into that they were telling me everything I needed to know, but I was basically sold a program. I ran with it, did everything they told me. And then when I lost everything, not realizing they didn't know what they were doing either, they bought into a program and just worked their way up the ladder. Now, after having built businesses, sold businesses, and now in the process of collecting businesses to build my own legacy, I would take that money. I would do things smarter with it. For example, instead of just giving people money, I would give them annuities so they're getting that income for the rest of their lives. I would be buying whole life policies for my children sooner, my grandchildren sooner. I would be investing in acquiring businesses that I understand and adding them to my business tree. I'd be doing things a hell of a lot different. But I had to learn that everything I thought I knew wasn't enough.
Right. And it's so interesting that you said that. Now, so you have this money and you know from losing everything that you got to be a lot more disciplined, would you say, in doing and in keeping your money? Do you think that before you even win, are you already working towards those goals of taking care of your kids, all that stuff? Because the conversations I've had with you, what I'm really amazed, James, is that you teach your own employees how to invest. You teach your own employees about not just the skill that they're developing on the job with you, but it's like how to keep you out of paycheck to paycheck. And how many of those employees are now becoming winners? So that'd be my next question. How many winners have you created or you helped along become? And, let's just go from there.
In my discovery of seeking the information that I knew I was missing, I learned a term called servant leadership. I was pissed off that the leadership team I had were not good servants to their underlings, their employees, their staffs. I was so angry. And I'm one of those people that have learned to channel their anger into positive actions. I've been beating myself up in the gym for years. When I was a power lifter, a lot of that weight was lifted with sheer hate and anger for the things that happened. So when I got an opportunity to give back to the people, be a true servant leader, everything I learned, I made sure it got passed along, because there's not an employee that works for me that doesn't make six figures, and not one of my employees gets paid by the hour. They get paid by their completed tasks.
Now, do they find more fulfillment in their work as opposed to being paid by the hour? I mean, because to me, it's like some people, that's scary. Not getting paid by the hour. But to me, that sounds like a money tree to me. Because the better I do, the more I produce, I'm going to make more money.
One of the first things I learned was the top 8% of the millionaire tree are employees, and they have opportunities that are given to them, and it's strictly up to them. Mm-hmm. So even though they are employees, they're running their employment as their own little business, and they're being taught everything they need to know, and it's entirely up to them how far they go.
Right. That power of discernment says a lot about somebody. When you have someone, and I've worked with the construction field at a time in my life. I used to work in a paint store called Kelly Moore Paints here in California. And then I ended up becoming a painter after, I left the store. I was curious. I wanted to be a faux finish painter. I thought that's what was, I was like, I wasn't sure if I wanted to go to school, but I worked for a guy who is really kind of a swindler. I mean, he wanted to pay me under the table. I was like, no. And he's like, well, I'm going to pay according to the job. Fine. And I said, I'm your apprentice. I'm here to learn. And he's all, oh, what, to start your own business? Exactly. Someday I will. But for right now, I am the learner. And he kind of took advantage of that. But I think I was taking more advantage of him because he didn't realize what I was doing. And that was the one thing, James, is that, starting your own business is not the easiest thing. It is a simple thing, but it is not the easiest thing to do. And why do I say simple? Simple is knowing what you want to do, right? easy is after the work that you've done in repetition that makes it seem flawless. Like anyone who does anything in mastery has, it's like what Bruce Lee says, hey, I'm not afraid of the man who can do 10,000 kicks. I'm afraid of the man who can do 10,000 kicks a certain way. That experience makes the wisdom, makes the ease exist. And I love when people say that phrase, well, you make it sound so easy. Of course, and it's easy to say. That's what it's supposed to be. Because words don't move things unless it's received. What you translate and you transmit. Here's another big key about the winning process. What do you translate to do? That's a big thing. So when we look at the process of winning, it's not the amount of like the glory and the cheers. It is the obstacles. It is the hard work that makes it an ease. And when you watch these magnificent events, like someone winning in a sports event, and they just, like I was watching a scene where Reggie Bush dove into the end zone and made it seem like he was Superman in the air, right? And no one asks about how many reps did the guy take for leaping? How many reps did it take for him to learn how to do, a pass block or whatever? Formations. No one talks about that. No one talks about the grittiness. And I'm sure, James, when you were getting yourself out of your situation, I don't think people were handing a whole lot out to you, but people were probably giving to some degree to you out of compassion. And I'm sure you received it with some sort of grace. Would you agree or disagree?
100%. I had a younger brother give me a car because I literally lost everything. And the first thing I did once I started making money was make sure he knew I appreciated it.
Right. Being good natured, pass on. And Jenny kind of talked about that. She's like, hey, I would take care of my family, make sure my mom and my daughter are good. They've been through there thick and thin. Right. So when we think about these things, the winning process is established basically in the repetitive work that you do well. But just because you get an advantage doesn't mean you stop. That's why a lot of one-hit wonders in music exist. They stopped creating. They got a demand like, oh, I'm going to go perform at this concert and that concert. And then the demand starts dwindling. And then it's, what is it? Carnivals and state fairs and things like that. And they're like, oh, I'm just good with just that. So I'm fine with that. But inside they have a whole lot of other music and they have to play constantly with the attention, but they stopped doing what got them there. And that's what we cannot forget about, so, in the Daily Stoic, he kind of talks about how, Ryan Holiday talks about, he basically says that, just because you go on vacation doesn't mean you go do just mindless shit. Like you can have leisure, but leisure that creates curiosity. Like, yeah, if I'm out in Hawaii, I'm going to lay around on the beach or I'm going to be lazy in the room. And that's why I'm going to take a vacation for a week. Because while I rested for a day or two, and my girlfriend probably could tell you this, I'm not the kind of guy who likes to sit around. She would probably tell you like, yeah, he wants every single Sunday that I have off is family day for me. And we 99% of the time go somewhere, do something. Am I spending money? Yes. But am I add experience to us all? Yes. We see beaches, we see mountains. I took my girl to Yosemite, not this last weekend, but the weekend before. And she had such a good time. She was like, oh my God, the trees are beautiful. The air is clean. I feel so relieved. And she was an emotional experience. And she says, I really feel like life is giving me something great. And she was asking me like to lay on the ground and ground myself. I was like, look, I got this white shirt on. I ain't laying on the ground. We went out to eat later on. And she's like, yeah, you're still so clean. I'm like, yeah, that's all right. But I also, what she didn't, realize is I was carrying the backpack full of our drinks and all the snacks and stuff. And we walked around, not no extreme hikes, but I maintained my energy, my alertness, and I enjoyed the moment by moment and day by day. But being able to give that to my family comes with a great cost. It comes with an emotional cost, a physical cost, a fiscal cost. And so when you understand your costs, now really start paying attention to your benefits. Every piece of hard work must result in something, either bettering you now or bettering you later. So moving forward, Gail, would you care to comment? If you won the lottery today, would you stop working or would you do something else? What would you do, out of curiosity, if you're available to talk?
Oh, I'd stop my current job for sure, and to just focus on my art, like painting and so on, and expanding that. I'd definitely just start painting and then hiring people to help me promote myself and market myself and find galleries. And then I
Gotcha.
could just focus on me. Yeah.
And so you said something very important, focusing on me to do better or experience more. What does that mean for you?
To focus on my true passion, the thing I really love to do, where I'm gifted, and to explore that, and also to get better at that. Because as an artist, like I'm an oil painter, you never stop improving. Every artist in history, their art evolves and improves. The more they practice it, the more they learn.
Okay.
So, yeah, I would totally devote myself to that.
So you would exchange the position, the role that you fill now, for a different role to do something more focused on what you really enjoy, but you would not stop working, would you?
No, because it's a work, but it's a work of love. Like there's people who get to do what they love and make money from it, right? And then
Mm-hmm.
but currently, like I don't love what I do. I'm good at what I do. I'm actually really good at what I do, but I don't love it. It's comfortable for me. I get it. It makes sense for me. In a way, I like it because being an executive assistant, because it I could do something I'm strong at and feels easy, but it's not my passion.
Right.
I don't feel like it's my purpose.
Yeah, and I think that's important because now you understand clearly the direction, whether you win the lottery or not. It's a bonus, right? In your mind, but
Yeah,
it's not
win
the
the
end all.
lottery, find a rich man, whichever helps me,
Now,
whichever one helps me to
here's
do
the
what I
more
want to do.
complicated question. Would you tell anybody that you won?
No,
And why is that?
because like if you watch documentaries or you think of statistics, or even if you think about the people around you or what you heard, usually whenever someone comes in to a lot of money, it's guaranteed you're going to have a lot of those who feel like they're entitled to it, especially family.
Mm-hmm.
I've actually seen this happen with a friend of mine, and this friend didn't win the lottery. Her sister did. Her sister and her husband won like $50 million, quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
And the friend was just waiting for her sister to give her at least $1 million.
Mm-hmm.
And when the sister wasn't giving her $1 million, 3 months go by, 6 months go by. She's not just gifted $1 million, at least, she was saying. She got upset, really upset. She used to rant about it when she's like, why isn't she should just do that. And I'm listening and listening. And one day I got tired of it and I said, why? Well, because we're family. I'm like, no. I'm like, she has a husband. He has sisters. Like, why do you feel like you need $1 million out of 50? I mean, if he gave $1 million to everyone, then they wouldn't have
You'd be
anything for
broke, right?
themselves. How do you? Yeah, I'm like, it's not smart. They also have kids. They also probably have debts. They have a number of things. Why do you feel that as a sister? And then she tells me, well, she did give me 25,000. And like, so she did give you something, 25,000. That's quite a chunk, right?
Yeah.
And she's like, yeah, and apparently she's learning how to invest it and they're just being cautious about it. I'm like, okay, so they're trying to be smart because 50 million is not that much. You can blow that easily in a year. There's people who've blown way more
You
than
can
that.
buy on a
A
lot.
lot
You
of
can spend a lot of stupid shit real quick.
yeah. And I said, so it sounds like they're just being smart about it and they're being careful and they're also being fair. Why do you feel like you're entitled automatically to 1 million? Why do you feel like you're entitled that she must even buy you a condo when you have no job? How are you going to pay for that condo? She can buy it, but you got condo fees, you got utilities, you got no job. How are you going to pay it? Are you going to expect her also to support you in that way? And even though she said, yeah, it makes sense, I met with her again 6 months later and she was still complaining that her sister didn't give her $1 million. And then her other sisters were complaining, even though she did give them money, like 25,000, 50,000 here and there. That's still a nice chunk, a nice gift. It's never enough for some people. And for me, yeah, definitely. I would hide it. I think there's only one person I trust, and that would be my brother. I would tell him and I would ask him to help me manage it. And I'd give him the largest chunk, really, is my brother. And that's it.
So it really predicates on when people say money corrupts. Now, if lottery
Yeah.
was never won by your friend or relative, and then the sister thought she was entitled, if that would have never taken place, what would she have done otherwise to maximize her own position? What are you doing before you win, before your entitlements? What, Don, to me, I would never want to be in that position to have to feel I'm entitled to anything. Honestly, if I win and I get to win, when I win, it's like the important people would be my partner. I'd also take, and this is me even saying this publicly, but I'd also would give sums of money to my daughter's moms, my other two daughters. They did a great service to me while I've been trying to achieve what I want, even though I disagreed with them, don't like them a lot of times. I would give to them for the sacrifice they've done for my kids. I would. And I would create a working process because I do believe in helping the homeless out. But helping the homeless out is not so easy. Just giving them a token and saying, okay, well, and here, go better your life. Just like we give this token of winning the lottery. And what ends up happening is that we never unchecked, we spend on stupid stuff. And then when we go right back to being broke, it was because of what you believe, what you understood, and what you practiced. A lot of us have practiced poverty, including myself. And when we practice poverty, it's because we have been tethered so much in stress, tethered so much in prosperity of hopes and dreams, but putting the real work into now. And then we lie to ourselves and we lie to everybody else, like someday, blah, 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 blah. I did it for a long time. And then when I fully began to understand my role, I'm a dad. I love my kids. I'm going to go make impacts. I'm going to keep doing it. I won the lottery. Yeah, I am. I'm not going to lie and say that I'm going to stop. I'm just going to, keep working after I win because you know what? I probably talk with the people that I work with and I would probably hire somebody to assist me and work in my stead for my business and saying, look, I need a little bit of time, but I'm going to put you in good hands temporarily. And then I'm going to come right back and know that I have to come back, and because I know this and I've learned from people who have been ultra successful, they've not they've only matured and improved. They grew, but they did not recess. They did not change the way that they did business. Like, look, I don't start new business until old business is finished. Every customer, every client is just as important as the next, whether it's a $10,000 deal or it's $1 million deal. It does not change. The consistency of getting your character better, having virtues, because money doesn't corrupt. It's your process of your thinking that corrupts with money. you know, and that's the thing is, like, the easiest way to call people out, like, I remember growing up, my mom would always say, well, when I get my tax return, my mom would get a sizable tax return, and that money would liquidate quickly because all the bills that build up to that moment, you think you're high on the roost, high on the keep of the hill. And then what you have afterwards, now you don't have anyone, bill collectors calling you and all this stuff. You don't have all that calling you anymore because you took care of what you were responsible for. And then afterwards, there's so very little. Yeah, we got some shoes, clothes, got a really good meal at King's Table, which was a buffet. But then it wouldn't be too long after that we were right back where we started. And that said a lot to me. And there were some pretty tough times. And so me growing up, I was like, I want to be wealthy so that I won't be in this position. Yeah, I've been the borderline of being homeless. Yeah. Had sometimes one thing to eat a day, school lunch. That was it. Mom had to wait a couple days. Watched her bounce checks to grocery stores. And it was humiliating, but it taught me that, a few things that matter now. Invest in yourself, get a hold of your mindset. And I've got to give credit to my girlfriend. She kind of helped me figure out some things like, look, it's not, and her dad too. I got to give him credit for this. They kind of like, it's not worth until you can enjoy at your table. Look at who you enjoy your table with. Not what did you have in charge of all this money, but who do you enjoy your table with? And like the Ebenezer Scrooge story, Christmas Carol, Scrooge figured out when he got the visitor, the ghost of whatever future, and it was the Grim Reaper, and he's like, no, get away from me. I'll change my ways. He reconnected with Tiny Tim and his worker, and the girl that he fell in love with years ago. He transformed. He's like, oh, I have all this wealth, but a cold room that I don't enjoy. And he got invited to, everyone pretty much knows that the tale at the end, sharing the wealth and the bounty of your table. Now, that doesn't mean give everything away, but it definitely means some things. Ellie and Barbara, before I close the show, anything you guys would like to add? I know you guys have came late, so you didn't get to hear the beginning, but if you won the lottery today, would you stop working at what you do something else, or just retire altogether and just do whatever come natural? Any of you guys care to answer? All right. Well, it's getting close to that. It is the hour. I'm 1 hour and 3 minutes in. I want to thank you all. I want to thank you all for coming out. We'll see you all next time on My Stoic Circus. I'll be back on Saturday morning, I think at 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. What is it? 10 a.m. Mountain Central and 11 a.m. Eastern. So look for me on Saturday for sure. And that's pretty much it. All right. You all have a great day. Go about what you think. Are you creating your winning strategy, your winning process now before you've won? That's my number one question for everyone. All right, y'all. See you later. Take care.